The desperate call. The galaxy was silent, but not with peace. It was the silence of hunger. Planets that once shined with lights were now dark. Families gathered with nothing to eat. Leaders whispered of collapse. The great Galactic Council sat in their chamber, their faces heavy with shame and fear. The famine had begun months earlier. No one expected it to spread so fast. Strange changes in star patterns ruined harvest cycles. Trade routes were broken, storage houses emptied. Crops failed, billions went hungry. Entire colonies cried out, but no one had answers. The proud alien races had always looked down on Earth. They saw humanity as small, unimportant, a young species still learning its place. When food was plenty, they mocked humans. When wars were fought, they ignored them. But now, when their own worlds were starving, they had nowhere else to turn. One counselor stood and spoke, his voice trembling. "If we do not act, we will lose entire star systems within weeks." His words echoed across the hall. Another counselor asked, "Who among us has reserves left?" But silence followed. Each empire had already stolen from its neighbor. Each world already consumed its own seeds. The famine was bigger than politics. It was bigger than pride. Finally, one elder counselor whispered, "Send a call to Earth." The chamber grew restless, some laughed bitterly. Earth, the humans, they cannot feed themselves half the time, but others did not laugh, they were desperate. "Better mocked than starved," one said. So the message was sent. It crossed the stars. It passed through broken relays and empty skies. It was a simple call, a cry for survival. "People of Earth, we beg you, help us. Send food, send hope, or our children will die." On Earth, the signal was received late at night, deep inside a monitoring station. A young technician almost ignored it, thinking it was noise, but the words repeated, desperate, full of fear. He called his supervisor. Soon the whole station was awake. News spread fast. Leaders of Earth gathered. Some doubted. Why should we help them? They never helped us. Others argued, "We do not have enough for ourselves. How can we feed the stars?" But there were voices, strong voices that said, "We must answer, because if we do nothing, millions will die." In small villages, in big cities, people heard the news. Farmers stood in their fields, listening to the radio. Workers in factories paused at their machines. Students in classrooms whispered to each other. Everyone was asking the same question. Will Earth respond? The council waited. Days passed. Their people grew weaker. Riots broke out on starving planets. Food riots that ended in fire. Parents traded everything they had for a single loaf of bread. Children cried themselves to sleep. The galaxy grew, colder. But still there was no answer from Earth, and so rumors began. The humans have refused. Some whispered, "They will not share." Others believed humans were laughing. "They enjoy watching us suffer." One alien captain spat. In anger, yet in the silence, something else was happening. On Earth, far from the council's eyes, quiet preparations began. Farmers increased their harvests. Factories converted to food storage and packaging. Engineers designed huge carriers, ships so large they could carry mountains of grain. Chefs and nutrition experts were called. Kitchens prepared not just meals, but meals for whole worlds. Yet the council did not know this. They saw only silence. They saw only delay, and fear spread. "It is too late," one elder said. "Even if they send food, it will never reach us in time." But even as he spoke, human harvest ships were already being built, one after another, their engines roaring as they prepared for the sky. In the darkness of famine, hope flickered faintly, but the galaxy did not yet see it. They only felt despair. They believed Earth had ignored them. They believed humanity was as selfish as they once thought. And so the aliens waited, helpless, hungry, bitter, not knowing that soon the silence of Earth would break, not with a single reply, but with something far greater. The desperate call had been sent. The galaxy begged for food, but what Earth was about to send would not only answer hunger, it would shock the entire galaxy. Earth's quiet decision. The call from the stars echoed across Earth. It reached governments. It reached farms. It reached every corner of the World. The words of the aliens still lingered in people's minds. Help us or our children will die. World leaders gathered in a secret meeting, their faces serious. The chamber was filled with silence. Some leaned back in their chairs. With doubt, why should we help them? One leader asked. They mocked us, they ignored us, they never offered aid when Earth was in crisis. Others agreed. If we send food, we weaken ourselves. If we give too much, our own people may starve. The arguments grew louder. Fear and pride mixed in their voices. But then a woman from a small farming nation stood up. She spoke quietly, but every word carried weight. We have always been ignored by the galaxy, yet we know hunger better than they do. If we turn away now, we become no better than the council that once laughed at us. Her words touched something deep. The leaders fell silent. Another leader whispered, "What if this is a trap? What if they lure our ships and steal them?" Doubts filled the air, but still the voices of compassion rose stronger. News of the council's desperate plea spread among ordinary people. In the fields, farmers worked harder. If others starve, what value is our grain locked away? An old farmer asked. In the cities, factory workers said, "We can pack food, we can load ships, we can help." Students shouted, "We cannot stand by and watch them die." For the first time in history, humanity felt united, not against an enemy but for a cause greater than themselves. Behind closed doors, Earth's quiet decision began to form, not to send a single ship, not to send a token gesture, but to prepare something larger, something beyond what the galaxy could imagine. In hidden shipyards, massive carriers were designed. Their cargo holds stretched wider than mountains. Engineers worked day and night, converting old freighters into harvest ships, loading bays filled with rice, wheat, corn, fruit, and grains from every land. Chefs volunteered, some were famous, others simple cooks from small towns. They said, "Food is not only survival, it is comfort, it is dignity." They began preparing recipes that would work for alien biology, meals that could heal the weak, meals that would restore hope. Scientists joined too, building preservation systems ensuring food could last for years as it traveled. They developed soil packs and seed kits, not only to feed today but to let aliens grow tomorrow. Humanity was not preparing to send rations. They were preparing to send life itself. Yet, all of this happened in silence. No broadcast, no reply to the council. The galaxy waited and grew bitter. They believed Earth was cold. They believed humans had turned their backs. But Earth was not ignoring. Earth was building. The council chamber grew restless. Reports came. Daily, another colony has collapsed. Children are dying on the frontier. Voices rose in anger. The humans betrayed us. One shouted, "They mock us with silence." Another claimed, yet still Earth said nothing. In the shadows of secrecy, fleets were gathering. In deserts, in oceans, in orbiting stations, colossal ships rose like sleeping giants awakening. Every day more volunteers stepped forward, pilots who wanted to fly, doctors who wanted to heal, farmers who wanted to share. Among them was a young pilot named Aaron. He had once watched his village starve during a drought. He remembered the helplessness. When he heard the call, he said, "Only one thing, I will fly because no child should feel what I once felt." His words became a spark among others. Day after day, preparations grew, until Earth had something no alien expected, not a single shipment, but an entire fleet. The decision was made. Earth would not send help in whispers, Earth would answer with thunder. But still, to the council, Earth remained silent. The aliens began to plan for death. They dug shallow graves, they prepared to bury entire cities. They whispered that humanity had failed them. What they did not know was that the silence of Earth was not denial. It was the calm before a storm of kindness, a storm that would sweep across the galaxy. The quiet decision was complete. The harvest ships stood ready, their engines glowing in the night sky, and when they finally rose, the galaxy would never forget the sight. The harvest ships rise. The night sky over Earth was never the same again. From every spaceport and every hidden shipyard, great shadows began to move. Their engines lit up the dark. These were not warships. They were harvest ships, built to carry, not weapons but food. The first rose over the Pacific, its hull gleaming like silver. People gathered along the shores to watch, their eyes wide. Mothers lifted their children, pointing at the sky. "Remember this," they whispered. "You are watching history." Inside the massive ships, holds were filled with mountains of grain, endless sacks of rice, corn, wheat, and fruit. Cold storage carried milk, medicines, and even seeds wrapped in protective shells. Every corner of the vessel held something meant to fight hunger. But Earth did not stop there. Humans knew that survival was not only about food, it was also about spirit. So along with farmers and engineers, chefs and doctors boarded, kitchens were prepared that could cook meals for thousands in a single day. Doctors carried medical kits to heal those weakened by starvation. Every ship was more than cargo. It was a moving city of hope. At the council chamber they still mocked. Alien voices filled the great hall. "The humans are late," one sneered. "Even if they send aid, it will be crumbs." Another laughed bitterly. "Their world is small, their reach is weak, they cannot feed a galaxy." Yet out beyond their sight, fleets of harvest ships rose, not one or two, but dozens, then hundreds, moving slowly into orbit. Their numbers growing until the night sky above Earth glittered with more ships than stars. The council had demanded numbers, and Earth answered with scale. On the ground, workers cheered as each ship left. "Go feed them," shouted a farmer, throwing his hat into the air. "Show them who we are." The galaxy had always believed humans were selfish, fragile, too young to matter. But this fleet was proof of something else. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not small. When united, they could move mountains of kindness. Among the volunteers was Captain Aaron, the young pilot who had sworn no child would suffer as he once had. He stood on the bridge of his ship staring at the stars. "We are not soldiers today," he told his crew. "We are harvesters of hope." His words spread across the fleet, whispered from ship to ship. The launch was not broadcast. Earth still kept silent. They wanted no glory, no applause, only results. And so while the council argued and starved, the humans quietly moved, their engines roaring in the vacuum of space. When the first alien scouts detected the movement, they thought it was an invasion. Alarms rang across the nearest systems. Fleets scrambled, commanders shouted, "Prepare for battle, Earth is sending warships." But when their sensors confirmed the truth, silence fell. These were not warships. There were no cannons, no missiles, no fighters, only colossal carriers, their holds stuffed with food. Confusion spread. One alien officer whispered, "Why would they send so much? Why would they risk their own world?" His superior had no answer, because no alien race had ever done such a thing. The first transmissions came. Simple words, carried on human voices. "We heard your call. We bring food, no payment, no chains, only help." Across starving planets, screens lit up with the human message. Crowds gathered, weak and starving, yet their hearts stirred. "The humans," they answered. Tears flowed in alien eyes. Hope returned. Still many doubted. "It is a trick," some leaders warned. "No race gives without reason." But hunger does not wait for politics, and the sight of those harvest ships filled the skies with something stronger than doubt. It filled them with awe. Each ship that entered orbit released shuttles, loaded with crates of rations, soil packs, and seed kits. Chefs set up kitchens on barren worlds. Doctors treated sick children. The smell of cooked bread filled the air, something many had not smelled in months. On one planet, an alien elder broke down, holding a piece of bread in trembling hands. "I thought we were forgotten," he whispered. "But the humans remembered us." Rumors spread faster than famine. Across the galaxy, voices rose. "The humans are feeding us. They came when no one else did. They send not just food, they send life." The council, once arrogant, now sat in uneasy silence. Their pride was cracked, their authority shaken. If Earth could do what the great empires could not, what did that mean for the balance of the galaxy? But the common people did not care for politics. They cared for the taste of food on their tongues. They cared for the warmth in their stomachs. And for the first time in months, they cared for hope. Earth had stayed silent, and the galaxy thought they were cruel. But now the silence was broken, not with a reply of words, but with a fleet of harvest ships, The harvest ships had risen, and the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. Arrival at the hungry world. The first fleet of harvest ships entered the orbit of a dying world. The planet below was gray, its rivers had dried. Its farms were nothing but dust. From space, the scars of famine were clear. Cities once filled with lights now lay dark. Millions waited below, weak and desperate. The council had promised nothing. Their warehouses were empty, their leaders powerless, but now, shadows covered the skies. Human ships stretched across the horizon, so many that the sun itself seemed dimmed. At first, the aliens feared invasion. Alarms rang in the broken streets, but when the first human shuttles descended, there were no soldiers, no weapons, only crates stacked high with food. The shuttles landed in the center of a starving capital. The doors opened, and out came humans carrying bread, rice, fruit, vegetables, and water. They moved quickly, setting up kitchens with machines that cooked for thousands. Long tables appeared in the streets, the smell of hot food filled the air. The starving citizens could not believe it. Children approached slowly, their thin faces full of doubt. One boy whispered, "Is this real?" A human chef knelt, handed him a bowl of warm stew, and said softly, "Eat." The boy tasted it. Tears rolled down his cheeks. The crowd gasped, and then, like a flood, thousands rushed forward. The humans did not stop at feeding. Doctors came, out with medical kits, treating wounds of hunger, giving medicines to the weak. Farmers carried boxes of seeds and soil packs, showing families how to plant again. They explained in simple steps. This will grow fast. This will last longer. This will feed your children for months. In the middle of the crowd stood an alien elder, his robes torn, his eyes hollow. He took a piece of bread with trembling hands, lifted it to his lips, and broke down crying. "We thought we were forgotten," he whispered. "But Earth remembered us." His words spread like fire. Soon, the whole city was filled with cheers. People raised their voices in gratitude, some even sang, their voices weak but rising. The sound echoed through the streets. Hope had returned. The council watched through their networks, stunned. One leader whispered, This is impossible." Another hissed, "Why would they give so much? What do they want in return?" But no answer came, for the humans asked for nothing, no payment, no promises, only that the food be shared fairly. Captain Aaron, standing on the bridge of his ship, looked down at the world below, his voice firm. "We are not here for power, we are here for life. Let them see what humanity truly is." His message was broadcast, not to leaders, but to the common people of the galaxy. And they did see, across nearby systems, word spread. The humans came, they fed us, they saved our children. Families on other starving planets looked to the skies, hoping to see the same silver shadows appear. But what shocked the galaxy most was not the food itself. It was the way humans delivered it. Not as cold shipments dropped from orbit, but with hands that cooked, healed, and taught. The humans did not feed bodies alone. They fed spirits. They restored dignity. The alien children who once cried themselves to sleep now laughed, running with bread in their hands. Mothers held their babies tighter, fathers wept openly in the streets. The memory of famine began to fade, replaced by something no one had felt in months. Trust. And yet, in the council chamber, fear grew. "If Earth can feed a planet, they can control a planet," one elder said darkly. "They can decide who lives and who dies." Others nodded in silence because they saw the truth. Earth's gift was also Earth's power. But to the people, that fear meant nothing. They cared only that their stomachs were full, that their children lived another day. That hope returned. For the first time in history, the galaxy looked at Earth not with pity, not with laughter, but with awe. And as the first planet feasted, more fleets were already on their way, moving like rivers of light through the stars, each one carrying the same promise. Earth had arrived at the hungry world, and what they brought was more than food. It was a message to the galaxy. Humanity had been silent for centuries, ignored and underestimated. But now their silence was broken, and every alien would remember the day the harvest ships came. The shockwave. Across the stars, news of Earth's gift spread faster than light. It was carried by traders, by refugees, by broken ships limping through the stars. Everywhere the same words were whispered. The humans came, the humans fed us. On one world, alien children held pieces of bread above their heads, chanting joyfully, "Earth saved us." On another, farmers planted human seeds in fresh soil, watching green shoots rise where there had only been dust. Entire cities painted symbols of harvest ships on their walls, as if to say, "Here hope arrived." The council, once proud and untouchable, now trembled. Their leaders met in secret, their voices filled with unease. "If this continues, the people will no longer listen to us," one hissed. "They will look to Earth." Another slammed his fist on the table. "How can a single planet do what empires could not? They are not stronger than us." But his words sounded hollow, because everyone knew the truth. Earth had done it, not with armies, but with kindness. Not with fleets of war, but with fleets of food. Meanwhile, more harvest ships rose from Earth, one convoy after another carrying wheat, rice, fruits, medicines, and seed kits, their engines burning trails of light through the void. When the fleets entered starving systems, planets erupted with joy. On the mining world of Draxos, families once trapped underground came out to find kitchens waiting in the open air. On the cold moons of Kareth, alien mothers held their children close as human doctors wrapped them in blankets and fed them hot soup. On the desert colony of Tal, human engineers dug wells and showed how to purify water. Everywhere they went, they left more than food. They left survival. They left hope. They left dignity. And the galaxy could not stop talking. In markets, merchants spoke in wonder. The humans asked for nothing. In schools, children repeated stories of human chefs and doctors. In songs, bards sang of the harvest ships crossing the stars. But not all hearts were grateful. In the council chambers, fear turned to panic. If Earth can feed the galaxy, they can rule the galaxy. One elder growled, "Whoever controls food controls survival." Others nodded in dread. What happens when the people trust Earth more than us? What happens when even our soldiers look to the humans for bread? The council tried to twist the truth. They sent out broadcasts claiming, "The humans are tricking you. They only seek to bind you in chains." But the hungry did not listen, because their stomachs were full, because their children no longer cried, because no council words could erase the memory of warm food and gentle hands. On Earth, ordinary people watched these reports with pride. Farmers cheered as they saw their crops feeding worlds they had never heard of. Factory workers wiped sweat from their brows and said, "It was worth it." Children in schools pointed to the skies and said, "That is our fleet." Humanity felt something it had never felt before. Unity. Captain Aaron stood before his crew, his voice steady. "We are no longer small. We are no longer ignored. Today we showed them that strength is not in weapons, but in compassion." His words were recorded and replayed across alien channels. Soon, whispers became declarations. Earth saved us. Earth gave us more than the Council ever did. On planets once loyal to the Council, people began painting human symbols on their banners. Alien leaders worried as crowds gathered outside their palaces chanting, "Food, food, food," and sometimes, "Humans, humans, humans." The shockwave was not only hunger relieved, it was power shifted. Earth had shaken the foundation of the galaxy, but Earth did not boast. They sent no soldiers to claim territory, they demanded no tribute. Instead, their ships kept moving, planet to planet, bringing life where there had been death. And that frightened the Council more than any army could have. Because how do you fight a fleet that carries bread instead of guns? How do you silence hope once it has been fed? In the Great Council chamber, an elder whispered the truth that no one wanted to hear. "We begged for food," and Earth answered, "But they did not only feed us, they changed everything. We may never rule the same way again." The galaxy shivered at the thought, because they all knew the balance of power had shifted, not through war, but through kindness. And while fear spread among rulers, joy spread among the people. From world to world, the chant echoed louder. The humans came. The humans fed us. The humans saved us. The shockwave of Earth's gift had become unstoppable, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Council's bitter realization. The Galactic Council sat in their grand chamber, but the room no longer carried the weight it once did. The banners of old empires hung above them, yet they felt thin and empty. Voices that had once commanded respect now trembled with doubt. Reports kept arriving one after another. The humans fed the colonies of Draxos. The humans restored the farms of Tal. The humans healed the children of Kareth. Every message was the same. Everywhere Earth went. Famine ended. Hope returned. The counselors shifted uncomfortably. One slammed his hand on the table. "This is dangerous," he hissed. "If the people trust humans more than us, then what purpose do we serve?" Another counselor leaned forward, his voice bitter. "We laughed at them, we called them weak, and now they hold the power of life itself. Whoever controls food controls the future." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some whispered in fear, others in anger. But beneath it all was the same bitter truth. Earth had succeeded where the council had failed. An elder older than most spoke slowly, his voice tired. "Do you not see? We begged for food and they gave it. They gave it freely, without armies, without threats, without demands. And in doing so, they gained something greater than conquest. They gained loyalty." His words fell like stones into the silence because every counselor knew it was true. Outside the chamber, the galaxy no longer cared for council decrees. Planets that once obeyed their laws now turned to Earth for guidance. Markets traded with human ships more than with official convoys. Families prayed for harvest ships instead of council relief. The council tried to fight back. They released proclamations. "The humans deceive you. The humans seek dominion." But the people ignored them, for their stomachs were full and their hope was alive. In secret, darker voices rose. "We must stop them," one counselor whispered. "If Earth continues, the council will collapse." Another agreed. "Better famine than slavery under humans." Their words were cruel but born of fear. They considered blockades, they considered lies, they even considered war. But deep inside, they feared the truth. No weapon could erase what the humans had given. No threat could erase bread in a child's hand. Meanwhile, Earth ships continued their journey quietly, steadily, carrying food, seeds, and doctors. Captain Aaron sent another message, his voice calm but firm. "We did not come to rule. We came to remind the galaxy what compassion means." His words spread faster than the council's warnings. Carried in the hearts of those who had eaten, the council's own citizens began to question. Soldiers whispered, "Why do we fight for rulers who let us starve? The humans fed us. The council did not." Riots broke out in capital cities. Banners of Earth's harvest ships appeared in protests. Leaders found themselves hiding behind walls of guards. For the first time, the council felt powerless. Their pride crumbled. Their authority cracked. And still the harvest ships moved, silent giants of kindness cutting through the void. An elder counselor, once the loudest critic of Earth, now spoke with shaking hands. "Perhaps we misjudged them. Perhaps strength is not what we thought." But his words were drowned by others, still clinging to fear. "No, this cannot continue. We must show them the council still rules." Yet even as they argued, their voices felt smaller, weaker, because outside their walls the truth had already spread. Earth had become the heartbeat of survival. The bitter realization sank deep. The council was no longer the center of power. Humanity, the ignored, the mocked, the underestimated, had risen, not with weapons, but with food, not with war, but with compassion. And nothing terrified the council more than that. They feared Earth's kindness more than any human fleet of war. They feared bread more than bullets. They feared seeds more than soldiers. Because deep inside they knew kindness had achieved what centuries of their rule could not. And as the council sat in silence far away, another convoy of human harvest ships left Earth's orbit, carrying food for yet another dying world. The galaxy waited, and the council trembled because the humans had already changed everything, and there was no turning back. The legacy of humanity's gift. The harvest fleets kept moving, world after world, colony after colony. Every place touched by famine soon carried the mark of Earth's kindness. Kitchens stood where there had once been riots. Farms grew again, where there had once been dust. Children laughed where there had once been silence. The galaxy began to change, not through decrees of the council, but through simple acts of sharing. In marketplaces, people traded using human seeds as currency. In villages, elders taught children how to plant the crops Earth had given, and everywhere the same phrase echoed, "The humans saved us." It was no longer a whisper, it was a legacy. Alien historians recorded the moment as the great gift. Songs were written, murals painted, entire festivals were born, celebrating the day harvest ships appeared in alien skies. Some races even began measuring time as before the gift and after the gift. The council, though still seated in their great chamber, found themselves powerless, their decrees ignored, their commands forgotten, their armies restless, because even their own soldiers had eaten Earth's bread. Even their own children had tasted Earth's fruit. One elder counselor, once proud and arrogant, finally admitted the truth, his voice low. "We begged for food, but Earth gave us more. Than food, they gave us a future." His words were remembered not as shame but as prophecy. On Earth, life also changed. Farmers who once worked in silence became heroes, their crops feeding entire worlds. Factory workers who once struggled now smiled with pride, knowing their hands had touched lives far beyond Earth. Children in schools dreamed not of battles, but of ships carrying peace across the stars. Captain Aaron returned briefly to Earth, standing before crowds who cheered his name, but he shook his head humbly. "This was not my work alone," he said. "This was the work of every farmer, every worker, every cook, every child who believed we could be more." His words spread through the galaxy, reminding everyone that humanity's strength was not in one leader, but in all of them together. The aliens who once mocked humans now traveled to Earth, not as rulers, but as students. They came to learn agriculture, to study medicine, to share in cooking. They carried seeds back to their worlds, and in return, they brought new foods, new knowledge, new bonds. The galaxy began to weave together in a way it never had before. Not under fear, not under conquest, but under trust. And Earth stood at the heart of it. Yet the legacy was not only kindness, it was also power. The council knew this, they whispered in fear. If Earth can feed us, they can decide our future. But even they could not deny the truth. The galaxy had already chosen, and the choice was Earth. For centuries, humanity had been ignored, underestimated, dismissed as too small, too weak, too divided. But in the moment of greatest famine, they had risen, and they had shown the galaxy that true power was not in armies or fleets, but in the simple act of giving. The legacy of humanity's gift was written not in blood, but in bread, not in conquest, but in compassion, not in fear, but in hope. And so the galaxy remembered, and so the galaxy changed. Children born in the age after famine grew up telling stories of the harvest ships. They carried wooden toys, shaped like human carriers. They played games where they pretended to cook food for villages. They dreamed not of battles, but of sharing. An alien elder once said, "Empires rise and fall, but the memory of kindness lasts forever." His words were carved into stone monuments across many worlds. Monuments built not for generals, not for rulers, but for farmers and cooks. At night, when harvest fleets returned to Earth for more supplies, people on the ground looked up at the sky, seeing the glowing trails, and whispered with pride, "That is us. That is humanity." And far away, in the stars, a council elder sat alone, watching a broadcast of alien children eating Earth's bread. He sighed deeply and said, "We feared their armies, but it was their compassion that conquered us all." The desperate call had once been sent into the dark. Now it echoed no more. For it had been answered, not with words, but with ships. Not with chains, but with hope, and the galaxy would never forget the day humanity gave not only food, but a future.